This is Nadisha in Chicago, and you are watching my channel Knowledge for Quality of Life. Friends, today's topic, I've talked about it before, but I have a request that this vlog, you save it somewhere, and periodically you can watch it and digest it. Uh, it's going to be quite a bit amount of concepts I'll be explaining here. I have done individual vlogs in the past on vitamin D. But today I'm going to be consolidating a lot of concepts in this vlog for all my new friends and new viewers, so that they understand this potent hormone. Yes, I said hormone. At one point I'm saying vitamin D. You heard it right. So that's what we are going to look into it, that why the way nature has wired us, it's a necessity. It's not a choice. It's not an option for us. And I want all my community members, whoever is watching this vlog, please circulate this vlog to all the community members who you think that they should know this. And I am pretty much 100% positive that when I see people, based on their physical health, based on how they respond to certain ailments, it's pretty obvious that you can nail it down that, person is going to be deficient in D, because, 80 to 90% of people in the world are D deficient. And this is a pandemic. This is the biggest pandemic which we have been experiencing over the last century, and nothing is being done at the medical community level. And we'll talk about it a little bit in detail. So, the way nature has wired us, that when we get exposed to the sunlight, particularly the UVB rays, the UVB rays gets in touch with our skin, bare skin, not with the clothes, not by transmitting through the glass or anything. It needs to be in contact with directly sunlight with the UVB rays. Now, under the skin, we have arteries, and arteries carries the blood. Blood carries the cholesterol in the packet format to reach it to the various cellular level, to various processes and making hormones and all that. So basically, the cholesterol is nothing but, the common name is cholesterol, but if you look at the chemical name, it's a 7-hydroxy, which we call in the medical literature 7-hydroxy. When the UVB rays gets connected or direct hit to the skin, that 7-hydroxy gets converted to 25-hydroxy, but it's inactive form. So it gets hydroxidized, 25, which we call vitamin D, but that vitamin D is in inactive form. It's not active form yet. That inactive form through the blood goes to the liver. Liver gets it processed. So there's a time frame when this processing takes place. Once it's processed, that 25 hydroxy, which we call, now it has activated, so it has become an active form of vitamin D. In the chemical formulation or in the prescription form, which is available, which we call it calcitriol. So I just want you to understand this thing, this whole scheme, that how nature has wired us and how things are going to pan out with this, you know, vitamin. Basically, it's a precursor to the hormone. So once it gets activated through the liver, it gets activated and it has become 25 hydroxy active form. It gets sent to the kidney. Kidney processing takes place, and then it becomes 125 hydroxy, which we call it in a chemical name as calcitriol. Now, this calcitriol is an hormone, just like we have a various hormone in our human system, like testosterone, cortisol, estrogen, progesterone, various types of hormones we have. Just like calcitriol is one of the hormone. Now, but this hormone is a master hormone of all. So it impedes in the processes of various other hormones. Basically, it provides the raw material to all the other hormones for its proper formation and proper functionality at various cellular levels throughout the body. And the way nature has wired us to function is that, at various cellular level, nature has placed a chip, which I call it, in biological term, we call it vitamin D receptors. Now, these receptors crave for this calcitriol, which is a processed hormone through the kidney, and it provides certain raw material for all the synthesis and processes of the entire biological phenomena, which takes place 24/7 throughout the lifetime. And this game plan starts actually when mom conceives a baby. From that point till we kick the bucket, this thing is going on. So that's why I said that, nature has wired us in a way that we can produce our own vitamin D if we are exposed to sunlight. But the type of lifestyle that we lead, we move around, our timings available, because this UVB rays is not throughout the day. It's certain time frame throughout the 24 hours, particularly in the day. And when the sun is above our head, which happens about 12 noon to 2 p.m., and most of us are at work, and we cannot go in the sunlight for whatever reason. And then there's a threat that if we go in the sunlight, we may get skin cancer, or we have been advocated to put a sunscreen so that we don't get skin cancer. Now, once you put the sunscreen, you don't make any D because it blocks it, right? UVB rays are blocked. That's why you put sunscreen. So we are a double whammy. So now God has given, the nature has given us the cholesterol as a raw material to make our own D, but the medical community is telling us that, oh, no. You have too much cholesterol. Let's lower it because you have a heart disease issue. You may get heart disease. Your risk is higher. So we've been prescribed the statin to lower the actual raw material which is given to us by the nature. Now, at one point, our friends who are oncologists in skin cancer, they'd say that you shouldn't be going to the sunlight because there's a concern of melanoma, skin cancer. So we are restricted at that end. So we don't have too much choice as a consumer. So if we don't go to the sunlight, but we need D, that's for sure. Without D, we cannot survive. We cannot have a good quality of life because D is the basis of having a good quality of life within the perspective of good health. This is the basis, and I have covered in many vlogs talking about the relationship of vitamin D and numerous non-communicable diseases. Please do check those vlogs as well. So what do we have option? This is the vitamin D supplement, which you see in my hand. It's a tiny pill. Basically, what they do that, they extract the lanolin from the sheep's wool, they emulsify it in the oil, and they make the gel cap. And this is the most I prefer, in consuming as a supplement. Now, this is a 5,000 IU, okay? This is a 5,000 IU. So how many micrograms? 125 micrograms. It's a minuscule dose, but when people hear 5,000, their eyebrows goes high. Oh, that's a lot. That's a toxic dose. But let me move forward and give you some basis. If we stand in the sunlight, depending on our skin pigmentation, the darker the skin, the longer you have to stay, and the lighter the skin, shorter the duration of the exposure, because you make anywhere between 15 to 20,000 IU. That's body's demand. That's body's need for that raw material to get converted into the vitamin D and calcitriol as a hormone for the proper functionality to provide all the raw material needed at various cells, through the VDR. VDR, that I said that, it's a chip which is embedded by the nature at various cellular level. And that VDR stands for vitamin D receptors. So for instance, our lungs, our nostrils, our throat, they have ACE2 cell. We call it angiotensin coenzymes receptors 2 cells. So they receive that, there is a vitamin D receptor on this ACE2 cell as well. And they crave for this vitamin D, the hormone calcitriol. Because for proper functionality of that ACE2 receptor, you have to have the raw material provided. And nature has, placed all the provisions in our system to take care of this whole game. Now, lungs has ACE2 cells, right? Your pancreas, our beta cells, which regulates the insulin, it has ACE2 cells. I mean, it has some vitamin D receptors, which craves for proper functionality of the vitamin D hormone. So at various cellular level, we have all these VDRs spread out throughout the body. According to the science, they say that there are more than 230 VDRs throughout our genome system. And they crave for this vitamin, the hormone. So this individual process is like, if I were to give you an analogy, so think of a symphony orchestra. So if you have a symphony orchestra, there are, 20, 25, 30 individual, people playing different instrument, and there's a person standing in front, which we call music director. He carries a baton in his hand, and he gives the directions to all the musicians, so that they can play properly based on the beat and all that, right? Now think of D, your calcitriol, or your active form of vitamin D, as your conductor, your music director. And all the individual processes in our human genome system, think of it as an individual instrument. Now, guess what? If your D is screwed up, your D, your hormone is not up to par, then your individual processes as an instrument is not going to play very well. So that music is not going to be heard very quite, soothing. It's the same analogy, in the human system. So now this D is not only through VDR, but for immune response system, D is considered as an immune modulator. I have done a vlog on this as well. So we have heard so many times that certain disease runs in the family. So my mom or dad had it. So no matter what I do, I'm going to get it anyways, right? So that's also a myth. So I'm trying to clear a lot of things here that we have to understand that how this immune modulator works. D is an immune modulator. It's one of the best supplement for one's immune response, right? So if your D is high, if your D is decent in the optimum range, your immune response is like your defense mechanism is going to be much better. You will get flu, you will get colds and all that, but your body is not going to be in severe torture mode. It's going to be very mild. I have had this flu season, this current flu season, and they've been saying that it's once in last 15 years it was the worst flu season this year of 2024. From September, October, and onwards to ending in probably March, April. Still, it's running. A lot of people are experiencing flu still. I've had twice, but it was a very mild. I didn't even have fever. Very mild sniffles and 1 or 2 days of a little bit scratchy throat, and it went away. Why? Because I just got my vitamin D test. We had an annual physical, and we went through 30 plus tests, which I do every year. And my recent vitamin D was I just got a text and my chart a 97.3. Now people get concerned, particularly doctor get concerned. Oh, you are getting close to the limit, so back it off. My wife got 99.9. So the range is 30 to 100. So she is at the upper end of the borderline. But when I received a text for my wife, we looked at it and doctor said that, lower your vitamin D, because we are taking 5,000, which I showed you, and 5,000 is 1/8 of 1 milligram. Okay. 125 microgram is 1/8 of a 1 milligram. It's not of 1 milligram. It's 1/8. So you have 1 milligram, you divide by half, that's 500 microgram. You divide by half again, that's 250 microgram. You divide by half again, that is 125 microgram. So this is just 125 micrograms. So the unit, now they are putting in the microgram as well, so that the people don't get confused. But if you go by the IU unit, international unit, people get concerned. It's a lot. So it's not a lot that your body needs to the minimum. Now, I'm not saying anyone to go and get loaded with 5,000, because you have to know your base level first. I started my journey back in 2016 when my D was deficient. We were, as I mentioned, that we were 5 people. We are 5 people in the family. I lost my mom last year, but now we have. When we tested, we were 5, and all of them were, 4 were deficient, and 1 was just bare minimum, to the borderline, just made it, right? So it's not uncommon, it's very common that people are D deficient, and problem is that it's not only deficiency, it's a misunderstood hormone. People don't understand. When I say people, means I don't only say that as a consumer but the medical community as well. A lot of doctors I've dealt with, I've talked to, they think that it's just a bone vitamin, and that's how it's been marketed. That's how it's been advocated. But it's a lot more than that. As I said, that the game plan starts from the point when mom conceives a baby, during the pregnancy, post-pregnancy. So basically, this vitamin is vitamin from cradle to grave, actually. And I'm gonna share a few thoughts on the protocol, because some people think that, oh, I'm taking it, all right? I'm taking 2,000 or 1,000 or 5,000 or 10,000. And a lot of doctors on the web, on the internet and YouTube, they say that, oh, you have to take minimum 10,000. I am not saying that, because we are all individually different. And I have done a separate vlog how I calibrated my vitamin D dose, individually. I showed some calculations that you go slowly. When you change something, you go slowly and you calibrate, because vitamin D adjustment requires 12 weeks to plateau. And then whatever dose you are taking, after 12 weeks, about 3 months, you're going to plateau. You go and retest it again. So from base level what you gain. And if you think that you didn't gain enough to be at the 60, which is optimum, then increase your dose and then wait another 12 weeks and then get retested again. Unfortunately, vitamin D is not a standard panel test in annual blood work. Unfortunately, if it was me, I make it this as a first mandatory test for each and every individual, because I monitor my vitamin D twice a year. Once I'm coming out of the winter, I'm living in Chicago. I don't make enough during the winter, even though sunlight is there, because the latitude is such. So if we are living above Atlanta, Georgia, we are not making enough in the winter. Summer is a different story. So point I'm trying to make is that you have to calibrate. If you can't test anything, you cannot calibrate. And you cannot calibrate, then you cannot be at the desired target. Now, majority of the people, experts, researchers, are saying that 60 is around optimum, but there are certain conditions which demands more, right? So I have done one vlog showing the examples of autoimmune condition, particularly emphasizing a case study of a doctor for multiple sclerosis. And for that autoimmune conditions, your body demands a therapeutic level, which is about 80 to 100. So each disease requires its bare minimum. For instance, if you want to protect yourself from bones, from the curving of the bones, which was very prevalent in early centuries, which we call it rickets, the disease of the bone, which bones used to bend, in a curvature form, you need only 20 nanograms per milliliter. 20 nanograms per milliliter is going to give you a protection of 99% of bone issues. coming from the rickets. Now, every disease has a different demand. So what I'm saying that, you get calibrated, you get tested, and then you take the dose, and then you calibrate again, and you reach to the desired level, and work with your doctor. Educate your doctor. First, educate yourself. That's the whole idea. So I wrote it down, a text message to my wife's doctor that, the rationale behind it, because, her calcium level dropped because she's taking enough vitamin K2. At one point, she was taking 100 microgram, which I have done her vlog because she's ApoE genotype 3-4. Check that vlog because she needed a lot more. People with genotype 4 needs a lot more K2. Okay, so now it's not, one size fits all. ApoE 2 people don't need too much, right? So since she increased her K2, now her excess calcium is not suspended in the blood serum level. It's going more towards the bone. So now we have recorded in the last, 8 years, her calcium serum level is at the lowest point, among all these, basically 8 years. And I showed it to doctor that, she has never reached 9.2 calcium level. 9.2 this year with the highest vitamin D she has ever recorded, 99.9. And that's very much contradictory to the most common understanding medical community people have, that they are concerned about hypercalcemia, because when doctors recommend someone to take D, they don't even tell you that D cannot be taken without K2. K2 is a must. It's not a choice. It's a must. Now, if you cannot, take the form of MK7, then look at MK4. I have done separate vlogs. So please, I have a request that, if you want to educate yourself and take care of your health, you have to see each vlog in its entirety. Take your time because, we are not in a race. It took me years to get to the bottom of it. And I'm presenting to you in a form that, it's the concept of sharing knowledge so that, at least some people can benefit out of it. I cannot maybe help everyone out there in the world, but whoever is watching this vlog and trying to make sense out of it and reading the description literature, which I'm sharing under my description, they will understand what I'm talking about. And I try to respond to you in a timely manner when people ask me questions in the comments. Now, this is a two-way street, so you have to take ownership of your health and work with your primary care doctor. You may have to educate, but before you educate the doctor, you have to educate yourself first so that you have a conviction level. And if the conviction level only comes from knowledge and education, remember that there is no monopoly on knowledge. There was a point at one time that, people were hoarding knowledge. So we were at the mercy of doctors. We were at the mercy of accountants. We were at the mercy of financial experts. Now, knowledge is at our fingertips, okay? So anybody can learn anything, all right? I'm not trying to be advocating here that, you become your own doctor. No, I'm not saying that by any means. What I'm saying, increase your knowledge base. Increase your knowledge depth. Don't keep it at the surface level. Take it to the deep and understand. The more you understand, you will appreciate nature and you will be close to nature and you will have that aha moment, which I go through a lot when I study this thing over the last 8 years, that, I appreciate nature. It doesn't mean that I never appreciated before, but I have now more appreciation of nature than ever before. That's how the science brings closer to nature, not against. So the other thing I wanted to share with you, the concept that, people say that, yeah, I take it, but my level is not getting there, right? My level is not budging up. So there are few things which I want to highlight here. Number one, when doctors tells you to take vitamin D, all right, and certain dose, if somebody is very deficient, then they give you a prescription for 8 weeks or 12 weeks, which we call it loading dose. It's a D2 50,000 green pill. It's a prescription form. And then sometimes doctors say, now you are okay, go home. you don't have to do anything. But that's not right, because every vitamin, every nutrient has its own half-life. So at certain time, that D level is going to be back to square one where you started. So that after loading dose, you have to have a maintenance dose throughout your life, because you want to keep it there. You don't want to let it fall. Otherwise, you are opening a door for all these diseases which is out there, because your body is open door to everything it can invade, basically. Now, what I'm saying that, once you have this maintenance dose you are taking, there are certain protocols which doctors don't tell, because I was never explained this thing. I digged it up myself through research and through papers, and I learned the hard way. So the protocol is that you have to take D with the largest meal of the day, whatever it is. I don't care. If somebody has a biggest meal as a breakfast, so be it. If you have a lunch, biggest meal, so take it with lunch. If you have a dinner, largest meal, take it with dinner. All right? No problem. My largest meal is dinner around 5:30. I don't eat after that anything until in the morning 6:30 for my breakfast. So now that's the number one thing. So D, you have to take with the largest meal. There was a study done that, people, there were three groups divided, one with half meal, one with empty stomach, and one with largest meal of the day. Folks who took with the largest meal of the day, they had a 30% more absorption in the lower gut. That's where the absorption takes place for the vitamin D. Now, if the food you are eating has certain amount of fat, right? You need some fat for this vitamin D to get it absorbed in the lower gut, because it's a fat-soluble vitamin. Remember that D, K2, vitamin A, these are all fat-soluble. So it means that you need to eat with meal and certain amount of fat. Now, when I say certain amount of fat, how much is certain amount? What is little and what is too much? So because I learned this hard way, because I was eating my avocado with my veggies in the this is few years back, in the dinner, and my vitamin D dropped, and I was scratching my head that what happened, and I looked it up and research, and I found a paper that there was a study done that when people had no fat with the meal, when people had minimum fat, which was 11 grams, and people had 26 gram or higher fat, the best absorption of D took place is with 11 grams only, precisely. So you can have too much fat, you can have a very decent amount of fat, right? So basically 1 tablespoon of olive oil or 2 eggs, that give you about 10 to 11 grams of fat, right? So basically the idea is that if you have too much fat, since the D is fat soluble, it's going to dissolve too quick, before it hits the lower gut, and absorption takes place slowly. So you have to be mindful for that, because what happens that a lot of people, they eat with a big fat, particularly people who are on keto, they don't care about the fat limitations. Their meal is loaded with fat, and they take D, and I've seen people taking 10,000, 15,000, 20,000, sometimes 50,000, because it's not getting there, because they may be okay to dissolve and reach it to the level, because body doesn't care how much you are taking. Body only cares what is your level in the blood. That's what the bottom line is. So if I can get my level to 80 or 60 or 70, whatever my desired level is, with 2,000, why would I take 10,000 IU? That's my point I'm trying to explain. So be careful in this thought. Now, the misinformation about D. There are a lot of misinformation out there. I don't know whether it's deliberately or creating confusion amongst people so that we don't get healthier. And there is not enough education at the medical community when they're being trained as a doctor as well. Because that's what I at least found out from my talk and discussion my primary care doctor, with other doctors, that there's not enough education beyond just it's just a vitamin, bone vitamin. So, for instance, I'll give you an example. Uh, During the COVID, there was a trial in 2020 in Spain. There were a bunch of doctors did a double-blinded placebo trial, which is the gold standard in medical community. COVID patients, they came in the hospital, they split the group. One got placebo, one got a vitamin D. But these doctors were very smart. They didn't pick vitamin D, this one. They picked calcifidiol. It means that they picked the active form of vitamin D. Okay? Active form means it can bypass the liver. It can go straight to the kidney and start working right away. Okay? So they took that option for the trial. And after the trial was over, none of the patients were admitted into the ICU, and everybody got released. Uh, this trial was phenomenal. After some time, there was another trial done in Brazil. Now, in Brazil, they took this form of D, which is inactive form. Okay. Now, when they took the inactive form, remember that, I said earlier in my vlog that this form goes through the liver and it takes some time to process, 3 to 5 days. The processing requires certain time to get it activated. Now, people who are exposed to COVID, they don't have time. They are running against the clock. Remember that. So it means that the viral load in 3 to 5 days is going to be much higher than when they came to the hospital. So the doctors in Brazil, they said that they didn't find significantly importance of vitamin D in COVID prevention or COVID outcome, because the results, they didn't get it what they were expecting. But common person like you and me who are reading these trials, they will get confused and they will start scratching their head that, see, so they created a confusion amongst people, right? So one trial is saying that it's helpful, one trial is saying that it's not helpful. So, but one piece of the element which common people will miss, that one use the active form of vitamin D and the other trial use the non-active form of vitamin D. And there is always a lag of time, and time is the essence. It's like a ticking time bomb. When somebody has a COVID, you have to minimize the viral load. And remember that, these pulmonary issues, COVID gets entered, or any pathogen gets entered through nostrils, eyes, or mouth. Their first lodge is larynx, then into the lungs. And this has ACE2 cell. Remember that, what I said earlier. ACE2 cells receives the raw material from D. The stronger the D level is going to be, the better raw material is going to be provided for the strength of those cells for the functionality. So you are actually building the immunity inside out, right? Your defense mechanism. Now, a lot of people say that I mentioned earlier that the disease runs in the family, so no matter what I do, I'm going to get it. Now, I said earlier that D is a gene modulator. Okay, so what it means that by that, so there are numerous genes in our genome system, and those genes, certain genes should remain on, certain genes should remain off, and D can do that. So D will control the on and off mechanism, of our genome system by providing proper signals. I'm making it very simple in non, technical terms. I don't want to get in the mumble jumble of biology and physiology and all that for common consumer. I don't want to create confusion. That's why I'm keeping it very in layman's terminology and keeping it simple, so that ACE2 cell gets the strength, and then if the cells are stronger in our immune system, their defense mechanism against the pathogens and all these things are going to be stronger to fight back. That's how the overall immune response comes from. That's why we say that D is one of the best immune response protector. because you want to carry those guards with you 24/7, 365 days a year. You don't want to get those guards temporarily, which we get into the form of some pills or something, built inside out. Now there are certain people who cannot absorb very well this thing. And I will list those, people who are a little bit higher BMI, those are with a, body mass index. They need probably 3 times more than skinnier people, average skinnier people, because, this D requirement is a function of body weight. As a rule of thumb, for each 25 pound of the body weight, you need 1,000 IU. So for an average person who is 100 pound or 150 pound, you need 6,000, 5,000 or 6,000 IU. Okay, this is the basic premise. Now, some people may absorb pretty quick, fast, and some people may not. And again, the protocol, I said that, largest meal with some fat, and other cofactors which we take, which I mentioned in my one of the vlog, that, K2, magnesium, vitamin C, these are the cofactors which enhances the absorption. And I've seen in our case, because I got 97.3 because I added 1,000 milligram of vitamin C in my diet in my around the dinner time. Same with my wife. So, our D level went up. It's not like before we were taking 5,000 from the day one. But before it was in 60s, 70s, sometimes 80s. But as we added vitamin C, another third cofactor, because we were taking K2 and magnesium, but when we added C, it enhanced that absorption, which is documented in the research. So these are the some of the things which I wanted to make clear with my viewers, and I hope that you will learn something out of it, and share with the community, because if you want to, I'm telling you again, I'm repeating myself, if you want to be in charge of your health, start with fixing your D. I'm not saying that D is a silver bullet, but this is the basic of your healthcare overall well-being. Of course, all the nutrients, all the vitamins which we've been talking about, those are important in the bigger picture, your diet and everything. But if your basis is not, correct, which is your D, the way nature has wired us, everything is not going to work in synchronization. Everything needs to work properly. And remember that analogy which I gave, symphony orchestra. If your D is good, your music is going to play very well. If your D is compromised, probably chances are that your quality of life within the context of health is not going to be as good as one would wish. I hope you can share this thing with many of your friends, families. All I want actually is to benefit someone who is out there. I don't know. I cannot reach everyone. I advocate my whoever get in touch with me personally at my community center. Whenever I see people, they ask me, I advocate to the best of my ability. But I started this thing, sharing of knowledge through this channel. My only purpose is to improve your health, your overall well-being, and hopefully we will delve into other areas of quality of life which I've talked about before. And see you next time. And until then, bye.